Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is November 20th, and we have Tom Fulton, and he is our old guest and our old friend. So nice to see you, Tom.
Nice to see you, Cheyenne.
And thank you so much for coming after a long trip. And then today, so we will probably will make it easier for the questions and for a short period of time. Um, I have two questions. The first one is about the illegal immigrants. That this is the question that we cannot avoid, and day by day, it's more serious. So, I let me start with a true story that my friend talked to me a few days ago. I have a very good friend who is living San Diego, and she is volunteer to one of the refugee center in the great San Diego area. And she went there for 3 days, and what she has seen shocked her. And she told me that every single day, only one refugee center, there are 500 to 800 illegal immigrants, and most of them are young men. That's one. Second, he said some of them speak very good English, some are not. That's why they need some translation there, translators there. And the third, she also see a lot of behave. It's highly like the human trafficking, especially for young women. And sometimes people work in the refugee center will stop their action. But sometimes, most of the time, they just took the refugee and then just disappeared. So my question is, it's every single day, and it's only one center. It's like this. And think about how many centers we probably have in the States. So my question is, Mr. Trump always said that he will stop the immigration, the illegal immigrant, the first day when he become president. So my question is there anything that we can do to clean up the aftermath if Trump elect? So what can we do? There are already 15 to 20,000, 20 million.
Million, yes.
Yeah. So how can we do? How can we handle these people? That's the first question.
Okay. First of all, we cannot.
Uh,
So, in spite of Trump saying that he would like to deport them or send them back where they came, it's too overwhelming. The government will not be able to do it no matter what he wants. It won't happen. And the reason is you have a few thousand agents from Border Patrol, Border Guard, Customs Immigration, some of them.
mhm.
You have 15 to 20 million people in this
Right,
country.
right.
Just imagine logistically how to do it. You find out that your next door neighbor is housing an illegal alien. So you call immigration, they come, they'll send two or three agents for one person or two people. And
Hmm.
then they have to go through the whole procedure to get them deported, to get them on a plane, to fly them home to their country and all of that. So that ties up two, three, five agents for one person, maybe. Now, if you have 20 million people here, then we would have to have 100 million agents to deport them, to pick
Oh,
them up, fly
mhm.
them out, get them taken out of the country. So, what will happen is what's been happening is that if one of them commits a serious crime, and we actually have an administration that enforces criminal law, which we don't right now, but
Right,
if
right.
we did,
Hmm.
theoretically, under President Trump, it would be enforced. But they would have to commit a serious crime, be taken to court, eventually deported. So the realistic number is maybe a few hundred or a few thousand could be picked up and sent home. Not 20 million, not 15, not 10, not even 1 million. So I think that, President Trump, hopeful that he would be able to get rid of them. I
Hmm.
personally, having been in federal law enforcement for
Right,
30
right.
years, I don't see how it could be done.
Well, that's serious.
Yeah.
That's serious. Oh my God. So
The
the
answer is, there's no saying
Mhm.
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
So Trump is talking about here's how we're going to cure this problem. We're going to
Mhm.
pick these people up, send them home.
Mhm.
Now, the border had to stay closed. Trump had a closed border.
Mhm.
These millions of people were not pouring into the country until
Mhm.
Biden decided, no
Right.
problem, let them in. And
Right.
Mayorkas
Mhm.
continuously lies when he testified before Congress. The border is secure. No, no, it's not secure. And you see all of the evidence of the trafficking across the river, across other boundaries into the southern United States, into Texas, Arizona, California, New Mexico.
Mhm.
And then people, part of the cartel groups, are on the American side to
Mhm.
get them out of the way or out of the country.
Right.
Then you
Right.
have the Biden administration deciding that if they get picked up and they actually go in front of a judge,
Mhm.
and they're given a court date to appear for
Mhm.
their refugee hearing or whichever, and the court date might be 3 or 4 years from now. And in
Yeah.
the meantime, they're free to go. And then the administration will fly them pretty
Mhm.
much anywhere they want to go in the United
Yeah.
States,
That's what
give
they do
them
right now.
money, give them a telephone,
Mhm.
take care of that. So
Mhm.
really, you have the continuing lies. This is
Mhm.
why you get shadow banned, what I'm going to say right now. Biden lies,
Mhm.
Mayorkas lies, the
Mhm.
other administration officials responsible for the security of the United States lie. Every day, they lie to the people. Every time they testify, they lie. So I'm not accusing Trump of lying. I'm just accusing Trump of giving a promise that I see no way he can keep to get
Mhm.
rid of 20 million people that came illegally.
So unless you change the way they deal with the illegal immigrants, like
Well, you
you
don't let
said,
them in. That's the problem. Under Trump,
right.
they had to remain in Mexico. They had to file for asylum or refugee status in Mexico City.
Right.
And the Mexican government made a deal with Trump to
Mhm.
provide over 20 some thousand Mexican soldiers at the
Right.
border to not let them cross the river onto U.S. soil. It was
Right.
very effective.
Right.
Biden came into office, got rid of everything, said borders are open. That's what we want. So now to try to do something about it,
Mhm.
or by the time Trump would get elected and sworn in, that would be more than 4 years that we've had this open border policy, which is a tragedy for the United States. And Trump or anyone else who got elected trying to reverse the damage,
Mhm.
it would be close to impossible. So I think if the number is 10 million, 15, 20 million people that have come in illegally, if they want, they are here to stay. As long as they don't commit a serious crime and get picked up for murdering people or doing some other bad thing, then they'll
Mhm.
get picked up, they'll get deported. But in the meantime, if they don't do that, they come here and just get a job, work in some factory somewhere through contacts of the cartel, whatever, uh, they're not going anywhere. We're not going to be able to get rid of them.
So the next step is how can they get their status, legal status, because they come here legal, they don't have a status.
That's
So
right.
yeah, so probably they're going to remain that the like asylum status for a long time.
Probably, probably.
So the damage is already done. There's maybe not nothing we can do to solve the problem.
Nothing practical. We won't have the resources to get rid of 20 million people that are here illegally. On
Mm-hmm.
top of the ones that were, this is not counting the number of people that have come here, let's say on visas, and
Mm-hmm.
then overstayed. If you get a visa to come into the United States and one of the consulates or embassies around the world, they give you a visa. Okay, now you could travel to the United States. At
Right.
least they know who you are. You legally obtained the visa. Now, millions overstay and don't leave when they're supposed to. But that because we knew who they were when they applied in the U.S. Embassy or the U.S. Consulate, we know who they are. Now,
Right.
that may not help, but that's better than gotaways that cross the border. We have no idea who they are. We have no idea if
Right.
they're terrorists, probably assume they are, and
Right.
what terrorist group they belong to. Now, the
Right.
U.S. intelligence is aware that Hezbollah has training camps in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And Hamas has camps in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and they only have to walk into the United States, terrorists. So once they get here, would they be able to obtain explosives? Would they
Mm-hmm.
be able to obtain firearms and ammunition? No problem. No problem. Because their
Easy.
whole organization will take care of them, make sure
Right.
they get what they need. And that's separate from if they have computer skills and come in here and use cyber attacks on
Right.
our water supply, on our electric grid system, on our aviation
Right.
control system. There's a number of very important computer networks and systems,
Mm-hmm.
communications. All of these networks can be hacked and
Mm-hmm.
shut down if they have the right training and the right desire to do it. And they won't need anything. They come into the US, all they will need is internet access. They can
It's
go to a library and log in.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And Tom, thank you so much for telling us that. And then I have a question about, I heard that there are some countries that their citizen cannot get the visa from US. Is that true? There
Yes.
are about like 10 countries that we're not allowed to issue visas to their citizen. Is that
Well,
true?
if you go back to under President Obama, he listed 7 countries,
Oh,
mostly in the Middle East,
mhm.
and said that we have no government relationship between the United States Security Services, the FBI, Immigration, State Department, and that host country. They might not have a database. They might not have police or intelligence. There might be a failed state like a Libya or Syria or Yemen. So these 7 countries were identified by Obama, but he didn't do anything at the time. Trump gets elected, and Trump issues a ban against anybody coming in from those countries because there's no way to do a background check. The host country has no information, or they won't give it to us, don't want to cooperate, whatever. So Trump put that ban in, and you remember Democratic judges throughout the United States banned his ban. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, that's Islamophobia. Oh, all of that.
Mhm.
And Trump said, wait a minute. And it got known in the media.
Mhm.
Our terrible media reports it's a Muslim ban. He's banning Muslims from coming. It's Islamophobia. Well, the
Mhm.
truth is, the greatest population of Muslims in the world is Indonesia. The second greatest, Malaysia. So
Mhm.
the Muslim population of Indonesia,
Mhm.
it is greater than the entire Muslim population of the Middle East, Africa, and Europe combined. But
Oh,
no ban on Indonesians, no ban on Malaysians, no ban on those countries because the United States has a relationship with their government. Their
um,
government has law enforcement, they
I
have
see.
intelligence. In the case of Indonesia, the FBI has a legal attache office in the U.S. Embassy, Kuala Lumpur. In
Mhm.
the, I mean, Jakarta, I'm sorry, in
Got
Indonesia, and in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So the FBI has a very close relationship with their authorities because they don't want terrorists coming into their country. So even when I was running international operations for the FBI, we had a great relationship with those countries. They were not banned, but our crooked media and other politicians said, oh, Trump's banning Muslims. He was not. So that went through, I don't know, almost 2 years of litigation before the Supreme Court finally weighed in and said, Trump has every right as commander in chief and as responsible for the security of the United States, he can do that. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, he can issue that ban. Those countries have not changed. So now, 3.5 years later, the same, and I have the list of the 7, those seven countries are the same. They still don't have a good relationship with the United States. They still don't have effective law enforcement in their own country. They don't have databases that they can share with us. So all of the conditions that existed 3 or 4 years ago have not changed,
Right, right, right.
except
Still,
Biden now ignores it. That's no problem. If we don't have a relationship, we don't care.
so what are the 7 countries? You mentioned 7 countries. There are Libya and
Okay, give me
are
one
they?
second.
Yeah, sure. So we can list them and then people will know. which country that have no actually we don't issue visa to their
Okay.
citizens.
Number one, Iran,
Okay.
Syria, Iraq, Somalia,
Somalia.
L-
Okay.
Libya,
Okay.
Sudan,
Sudan. Okay.
and Yemen.
And Yemen. All right. Middle Middle East.
Yeah, predominantly Middle East.
Yeah, most of them
So
are Middle.
basically, they're similar to failed states.
Right. Right.
And basically the countries, the other countries that I mentioned, like Indonesia,
Mhm.
Malaysia, other countries that are predominantly, Indonesia has a population almost as large as the United States. It's
Mhm.
close to 300 million people. And
Right.
out of that, about 80% are Muslims.
Yeah, right.
The
So
same thing with Malaysia is the same way. There's several other countries the same way. Individually, their Muslim population is greater than the Muslim population of the entire Middle East, Africa, and Europe
yeah,
combined.
that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. And so basically, we cannot do anything to clean up the aftermath. So people illegal enter the United States if they just don't do the bad thing. Let's put it this way, they will stay, basically.
Yeah. So, in other words, this is similar to, and I grew up in the Midwest outside of Chicago, and in the springtime, we frequently had tornadoes. If a
Mhm.
tornado touches down in a small town and wipes out all of the houses and buildings, now what? There was no way, we didn't keep the tornado out. We couldn't. Now the
Mhm.
tornado hits, all we can do is rebuild or try to put it back together. So 20 million people coming here illegally, who's going to pick them up, transport them, and send them back to the country they came in from, if we even know where they came in from?
So the first thing we need to do is just close the border.
Absolutely. That's step
Yeah.
one.
Right,
Step
right.
one. And then if you do that to be humane and to allow a system for actual refugees
Mhm.
to come in, then in the Trump administration, they negotiated a deal with the president of Mexico to set up refugee application centers in Mexico, the
Mhm.
Remain in Mexico policy. So the people came in, if they wanted to apply for refugee status, asylum in the United States, they went to one of these centers, Mexico City, and applied. And
Mhm.
while that application was pending in the United States, they had to remain in Mexico.
Mhm.
And to make sure they remained, the Mexican government assigned about 28,000 Mexican soldiers to the Mexican side of the U.S.-Mexico border to keep them from even crossing.
Right, right. This is a really good way to keep the illegal immigrants.
Oh, it worked. It was working.
Right.
It was working. And when Biden got elected, they couldn't stand the fact that it was working, number
Mhm.
one, and the fact that it was negotiated by the Trump administration.
Right, right, right.
Actually, a major part of that deal was Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who married Ivanka.
Mhm.
And Kushner is also one of the key negotiators in the Abraham Accords in the Middle East.
Right.
So he has done this tremendous. He's actually a very experienced international businessman, but he
Mhm.
used that. And information I was getting from inside the FBI and others was that Obrador, the president of Mexico, who is a socialist,
Mhm.
and Trump was quoted as saying, "Yeah, he's a socialist, but he's a good guy. We trust him. We can work together," which was true.
Mhm.
So the president of Mexico formed a good negotiating partnership with Jared Kushner on behalf of Donald Trump, and they
Mhm.
worked out this deal. They have Mexican troops at the border
Mhm.
and stay in Mexico to apply for status in the United States. And then when the people knew that they would have to stay in Mexico to apply, you didn't see all these gigantic caravans come
It's
up
so
from
tough.
Central America all the
Right,
way through Mexico to the Texas, Mexico, Arizona border, whatever. So that was very effective.
right, right. Well, thank you so much for the information that you share with us. And then, sometimes when we talk about the border issue, I just feel I have no word to say because the government is so, excuse my language, so stupid to do that. What they're doing now. No, a good government will do that. Why? What they want. So people just don't understand.
I think they're getting what they want. I think that the Marxist influence on Joe Biden, the Biden administration, on his principal advisor and shadow government, which is Obama, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're getting what they want. They want to destabilize the United States, and they're doing it. They want to weaken the United States so it's not the strongest country in the world, and they're doing it. And they feel that if they flood the population with people, then the U.S. has to take care of them. Medical care, education, take care of their children. They can't just let them in and be free. They have to take care of them.
Right.
And so the Democratic Party is getting what it wants. And the United States people are paying the price for it and continue to pay for it.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for the first questions. It's a wonderful answer. And then
the only problem with my answer is I just got you banned again. So
I know.
Sorry.
It's not the first time. No. Okay. So second question, I think is as important as the first one, is about July 6th footage release. This is huge. So my question is, from your understanding and your experience, what the legal thing, let's talk about legal thing that FBI and the Capitol Police should do during that time, and what action they should not do during that time.
During the time of January 6th, President Trump had already given the authority to bring in the National Guard.
Right.
And at the time, 10,000 National Guard soldiers could have guarded the Capitol and kept, people out, protesters and trespassers and all of that. Mm-hmm. And basically, the people in charge of security at the Capitol, Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, oversee the Capitol Police. Mm-hmm. They didn't accept the offer to bring in any. And then Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., having received the similar offer from Trump, said, no, we don't need that. I think what they really meant is we don't want that. And at the time, the procedure in the Senate chambers was Pence as vice president. One of the roles of the vice president is to be in charge of the Senate. Mm-hmm. So as the leader of the Senate, he's counting the electoral votes as they come in. Now, several states had controversy about their electors, and Pence would have been in a position to say, okay, today's January 6th, you go back to your states, verify who you're picking, get back to us within 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. And it's happened before in the United States. It's not a novel thing. So there's a theory, and I'm not going to say it's absolutely true, but there's a theory that Pelosi and therefore Schumer and Pence wanted the proceedings to be stopped by this demonstration, by the trespassers coming in. Just stop it. And that way, there'd be no chance for Pence, because they didn't know if they could trust them completely, no chance for Pence to say to each of the questioned states, go back and recount your electors, or go back and make sure that you're giving us the accurate number. And because at that time, the numbers were so close that it would have delayed certifying Biden as the winner. And so that's what ends up happening. So there's some theory that Pelosi herself and Schumer together wanted the proceedings stopped. They wanted the riot, they call it the insurrection, but they wanted the trespassers to come in and disrupt the proceedings, the count of the electors state by state by state. And as a result of that, they stopped the proceeding until all of the trespassers are taken out. And then they resumed the count later in the evening. And now suddenly
Right.
Pence goes through the count and Biden's named as the winner with the most electoral votes.
Right.
Now, one of the things that's been the controversy ever since
Mhm.
is, did the FBI and other federal law enforcement and state or local, Capitol Police or others, did they have not just informants, but undercover agents
Right.
in the crowd that went in, encouraging, come on in, let's do
Right.
this,
Right.
let's
Right.
do that.
Right.
And did they help make the riot happen?
Mm-hmm. That's a
And
good question.
and the theory was that that's why they would not release the video from inside the Capitol. And they've given, to this day, they give excuses that, well, then bad guys and terrorists will know where the cameras are. They'll
Right.
know how the cameras are everywhere. How stupid
Right.
is that?
Right.
They're
Right.
everywhere. If
Right.
you're going to be in the Capitol building or one of the other Senate office building, House office, if you're in those buildings, from the second you approach the door,
Mm-hmm.
while you're on the property, while you go into the property, every room you go in, you're on camera. Maybe not the bathroom, but every other room, you're on TV, and the security people in that building can see everybody that's coming in and where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So many people, the theory is that they jealously guarded the possession of 40,000 hours of video, because many of those videos would show undercover FBI agents or other police officers in there. And so if you could see the faces of the officers, a neighbor might say, oh, that's my next door neighbor. He's an FBI agent, or
Right.
he's an IRS agent. He works for the government. He's in law enforcement. And they didn't want that. So that was the theory why they kept those videos from being publicly seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then McCarthy lets Tucker Carlson. Tucker gets to look at some of them and his staff, but they only had time to look at very few, not all 40,000 hours. So that's what the issue is now. During congressional testimony, Christopher Wray, director of the FBI, basically says, oh, I'm not aware of any FBI agents in the crowd. I'm not aware of any FBI informants. And the more that comes out about it, then they say, we don't want those videos released because they may show FBI agents and undercover, they might show informants.
Right.
Then they came up with this, they'll know where the cameras are.
Mm-hmm.
That little box up in the corner, that's a camera. We don't want anybody to know that. What a secret, that we have cameras in those buildings. So anyway, everything about it, the Jan.6 special committee with Liz Cheney and those people on the committee, all of that was a sham to say that these insurrectionists, and as you recall, they were identified as people that came in, caused an insurrection, which is usually armed in most countries, like our American Revolution 250 years ago, that they caused an insurrection, even though none of them were armed, even though none of them deliberately fought. So there's a big issue with who fought with who. Did the police and them, if somebody, from my personal opinion, as all my adult life in law enforcement, if somebody fought with a police officer or beat up a police officer or threw a brick or a bottle or something at a police officer, I agree. Jail them. Let them get 20 years in prison. That's fine with me. But the question is that what happened? Have we seen what actually happened? And for the most part, we have not.
Right. Right. So this is so now you mentioned the whole processing of the certification in Congress at that day. So can we say that they actually kidnapped Pence to force him verify the elect?
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think
He
so.
did. But he did. So the second question is, do you think?
Well, they stopped the proceedings at
Right.
12:30 or 1 o'clock. Everything stops. And
Right.
the senators and everybody are taken to a safe place somewhere. And they have tunnels that connect all of these office buildings to the Capitol. So, but they came back into session, I think 6 or 7 in the evening, after all of the trespassers had been kicked out of the Capitol. Then they resume and quickly go through the whole process and certify the electors, certify Biden as the winner.
So it seems like Mr. Trump never thought that thing will happen. when so many people are in front of the Capitol. He never thought that these guys, like Nancy Pelosi, like Schumer, have the plan to do something bad. Do you think he knows or he has the sense of something will happen?
I don't know. He probably had a sense. There was a good sense because FBI and other agencies were saying, 1 million people are coming to Washington, D.C. to protest. They don't think the election results were accurate. Now, meantime, Trump has a rally at the White House, which basically is 2 miles from the Capitol. 1600 Pennsylvania, 16 blocks equals 2 miles. So he gets done toward the end of his speech. The people entering the Capitol had already started before Trump said anything. And then Trump says, now go to the Capitol and patriotically and peacefully protest. He doesn't say break into the Capitol and have a riot, beat people up, destroy property. He doesn't say any of that. He says peacefully protest. So, and he had offered all of these troops to protect the Capitol. So now they've charged him with being part of the insurrection, which to me is unbelievable that they charged him with that.
Right. So I heard one of the congressmen said that at least 5 to 10 people, the congressmen and the women, will step down, were retired because of the releasing of the footage. What do you think? Is anyone probably will go to jail because of that, because they lie about?
I don't know, because I don't know what would be in the footage that would be negative against a single congressman or member of the Senate. I don't know. So
how about not Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, their committee, Jan.6 committee, they actually lied to people.
They lied. It was a complete phony. They only allowed certain, they prevented Pelosi from testifying. What's going to happen is that when Trump goes to trial for allegedly causing the insurrection, giving the orders to have the insurrection, I think a lot of it's going to be disclosed that he did nothing wrong. He offered troops. He said, be peaceful. That's it. And so it was the responsibility is going to start to come against Pelosi and Schumer in the Senate. And I think that's where. And so a lot of the conspiracy theories are that Pelosi wanted the count interrupted because they didn't know Pence might stop it and say, okay, go back to your state and recertify the electors. Now, that's happened before. That's not unusual. That's happened in United States history in the past. So it would not have been totally unusual for that to happen. But by having it stopped, and then, everybody running around in the Capitol trespassing, basically, by the time they get them out of the building, 4, 5, 6 hours later, reconvene, now they can just go right through. And Pence immediately certifies everybody, no problem, Biden is elected. And so is that what Pelosi wanted? Is that their strategy? Create this little riot, stop everything till they're sure that they would get the votes for Biden. I don't know. That's a theory. I don't know.
But to me, it makes sense.
Well, it makes tremendous sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's see some people's feedback. And then if they have any questions, there are some English and there are some Chinese here. Glad to see Tom again. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So font. All right, thank you. We know that they're lying, that they know that they're lying. They even know that we know they're lying. They still lie. That's one of the comments. Oh, Cheyenne, my name is because I just watched TV on broadcast. Oh, thank you so much. One of the audience from Japan say hi to you.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thank you. And then the last question is about Bank America. Do you know what happened in Bank America? They got the Tim Jordan, just start to question them about why they gave the information about their clients to FBI. Some of the people went to Washington, D.C. at January 6th. They are clients of Bank of America. And Bank of America give their personal information to FBI even before FBI asked them to do so. And FBI got the information and just looking for the people, just regular people. They went to Capitol. So what do you think about the action of Bank of America? Can they do that? Is that legal to give the information, the client's information to FBI before FBI asks them?
It might be. I don't know positively, because when you join a bank and get an account or get credit cards, there's pages and pages of fine print. And
Right.
that fine print may say,
right.
going to give your information to law enforcement no matter what. And it may be there. I don't know. So, you had the FBI obtaining phone records of anybody in Washington, basically, or credit card records. Where did they stay? Where did they go? A lot of information. And the question is, the FBI could have obtained subpoenas to get that information from the banks, from phone companies. How far they went in the process, legally or illegally, I really don't know for sure in the details.
So in what circumstances FBI can issue the subpoena for the information?
If they're conducting an investigation and they feel that people have come into the Capitol area with bad intentions and they want to find out who came, who's here, then they can subpoena the information of who, with their credit card, charged something in the DC area at that time. Phone company could track you, even though after the Dinesh D'Souza movie, 2000 Mules, all the Democrats were saying, oh, they can't do that. That's impossible. Well, they do it over and over. So track your phone. Your phone is if your phone is on right now, the phone company knows within a couple of feet where you're at. And so if you came up under suspicion, they can subpoena the phone company and get the records that your phone was at a certain spot, which is in the mules. The phones went to the drop boxes and deposited ballots during the election. But then they can issue a subpoena to the phone company in connection with an investigation. Okay, here's the phone number. Who is the subscriber to that phone? Then they could come to you and say, where is your phone? Do you know? We have your phone going here, 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 outside the Capitol on that day. And that's how they get that information. They find out that the phone went to the Capitol and you were with the phone.
Well, so that brings a huge question about abuse of power. So is there a clear cut of abuse of power or the authority working? Because it sounds like FBI can get any information from anybody at any given time. So where is the bottom line?
They have the authority to get a lot of information. The authority to obtain that kind of information was increased by the Patriot Act we talked about before after 9/11. So the idea was to give the FBI having primary responsibility to prevent terrorism in the United States. That's why that extra authority was given. Now, can it be abused? Of course, it can. So in this particular case, in the lawsuits that are pending about it, the FBI would have to say what we did was reasonable given what happened at the Capitol. Maybe these people were going to blow up the building, put explosives in the corners, do something, and we wanted to secure our investigation or the building or who was there. Might they come back and do something worse later? So that will be an interesting lawsuit against the FBI and against the credit card company or the phone company or whoever. And in the past, when there's been a threat of actual insurrection, actual terrorist activity, the courts have generally ruled in favor of the government. So the U.S. citizens we talked about it with the Patriot Act. We decided that we would sacrifice a certain amount of freedom to gain a certain amount of security.
Right, right. Wow, this is a big question then.
Big question.
Just like you said, that's very interesting to see how they deal with this issue and how they make the case in the court.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe we need to do some adjustment for the law of the Patriot Act. It's over.
There have been proposals to reduce the authority of the government pursuant to the Patriot Act for many years, for several years now, since it was enacted almost 20 years ago. Right. So usually some terrorist act happens somewhere in the world and the people say, never mind, we want the security. Could happen here. Right. Now, right now, you had the FBI, the director saying a couple of weeks before October 7th, before the attack in Israel by Hamas, saying that the number one threat to domestic security is MAGA, are people that support Trump, are extreme conservatives. And
that's my question, Tom. Why they define MAGA as the first priority, the worst threat to the U.S.? How they define that?
They define that, and the basis for that is that MAGA is not a threat to the United States.
Right.
It's a threat to them personally.
Right.
It's a threat to the Democratic Party. It's a threat to progressive liberals. So those are the threats that they want to stop. And they think that MAGA has a big part of that, that people that, conservatives in the country are the biggest threat to the United States. That's ridiculous. It's the biggest threat to progressives, and woke is not a threat to the United States. And if anything, you can argue that these are the people that are going to save the United States from socialism, from Marxism, from communism, from this extreme authoritarian government that they always said Trump's going to be a dictator. Trump didn't do anything. Actually, they didn't do anything close to what Biden's doing. So that's just all part of the lie.
Exactly. But we have some good news from Argentina. And they got
conservative government. That's interesting because Argentina currently has inflation at about 100%. That's the bad shape of the economy. That's the effect of a socialist government over time. So socialism has brought down, obviously we know China, Soviet Union, all of that, Cuba, but also in more modern times, the last 30 years, let's say, Venezuela, countries like that. Now Argentina and many Latin American countries adopted socialism or communism. And Argentina goes from an extreme right-wing military junta, Junta, military dictatorship, back in the days of Juan Perón in the 50s. And now they've kind of turned to, we're going to be socialist. We're going to follow that pattern, and the economy is in ruins. So
they do the right choice now.
Right.
I think. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think our time is up, and then we really appreciate you give us some information, very important information, inside information, and also about the Fortage issue. And this, I believe, is one of the biggest issue right now.
It's a huge issue, yes.
Right. And also the rule of FBI. So we still need to see the footage, and then we can figure out what's the real rule that FBI play at that day. Very important. And then, thank you for connect the dot from FBI, from like Bank of America, from these small dot. When the dot connect, we see the picture.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tom, again. And I wish you have a very happy holiday.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you, and enjoy Thursday, the holiday. And
exactly.
And I know you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving now that you're a loyal American.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very big day, big holiday.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. And then I'll see you next week sometime.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much again.
You're welcome. See you next week.
See you. Thank you. Bye-bye. 好，那各位观众朋友哈，那这个哎，看看汤啊，好，他们下去了。那我等一会儿呢，就接着做一个节目，就把他们讲的这些内容啊，跟大家简单的翻译一下。然后呢，还有其他的一些新闻啊，也跟大家报告一下。我大概20分钟之后再做一个直播，那也欢迎大家来这个参加。